there's a wonderful amount of misery happening over in Megyn Kelly land. Look, it's Megyn Kelly, it's Glenn Beck, and they both want you to know that they're very concerned. They're very serious about this. This is a very, very serious thing. Sorry, hold on one second. I've got to put on my Glenn Beck face, if I could. 1 second. Okay. Now, Glenn Beck and Megyn Kelly will now pretend that they can hold it together while this is happening. This is the perfect time for faux outrage. All right, I can't do that for long. It's going to make my fucking face hurt. Okay, here we go. America, totally unprepared for global war. Okay, 2 things right off the top. No one is prepared for total global war. The entire world and every country in the world fighting all at once. Nobody's ready for that shit. Not anybody. And if anybody's even close to being ready for it, it's the country with a military 6 times that of all the other major militaries combined. But even still, no one is ready for the entire earth to be fighting fuckwad, except preppers. Okay, first of all, chat room, they're not ready for it. They're praying for it. They're like ginning for a time when they can hide down there and suck pancake batter out of a fucking soupy can. It's like, I don't even have time. Wait, hold on. I don't even have time to make the pancakes. I'm just eating it. I'm just gonna eat the batter like this for Jesus. It's like 1 spoonful equals a whole pancake. It's too much. Me and my pancake batter in a 5-gallon tub and a ladle. I'm not going to get into pork and beef till later. Now, another side note. What's happening in Israel and Palestine and the surrounding areas and the geopolitical ramifications that are incredibly serious and deserve to be handled with a serious tone, which is why I refuse to treat these assholes seriously, because they are opportunistic infections. They are not having a real discourse about all this shit, okay? They are fucking ticks that are looking to suck blood off of every crisis that comes along. So fuck them. I am not going to take them seriously, okay? That does not mean I'm not taking what's happening there seriously. Any mockery I do has to do with these assholes pretending to give a shit and selectively pretending to give a shit. They're the clap. Yeah, all right. In their own way. Here we go. This is Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly! Hey, Glenn Beck! This is super serious, guys. It's super serious. Ugh, what a bunch of assholes. Here we go.
The big news right now is Hezbollah.
Yeah, that's the big.
And whether a new front just opened in the north of Israel with an incursion from the north. Your thoughts on it?
Your thoughts, because I have none. I just heard that thing, and basically we're trying to create viral clips of like, what, World War III now?
We are headed for not just a regional war, but I believe we're headed for a global war. You can't.
Russia attacks Ukraine in the center of Europe, and that's not a heading for a global war, but this is.
Can't have Hezbollah in the north, Hamas on the south, and what will be the IRGC coming in from the Syrian side. It's going to overwhelm Israel.
No, it's not.
And I honestly, it will take a miracle to keep us out of World War III.
All right. Now, real quick. Why will this absolute dickhead invoke the word miracle about this? It's because He doesn't actually believe it's going to spill into a global war. He thinks there might be some tit for tat shit going on, in the northern. I don't even think he's extrapolating going as far as I would, which is my belief that Israel will attack Iran at some point from this. But the reason he's dropping the word miracle in here is when it doesn't turn out to be that, that's when he will just straight up say it was a miracle. I mean, it's in many ways, it's the perfect way to align yourself with God. State something outlandish that if it happens would be ultimately terrible, and say if it doesn't happen, say it's got to be because of a miracle, and then align yourself with that expression of said miracle and claim some fucking credit for it.
I think, however, miracles have happened with Israel over and over again. So there's a
yes, like the Yom Kippur War and the 6-Day War and.
Few things I've been listening to your
Shomer Shabbos
monologue, and I want to address. First of all, this is in some dark way a blessing if we look at it.
Fuck off.
This way. This is the first time in.
Yes, thank God. Thanks for putting a silver lining on the cloud of beheaded babies and raped women being dragged through the street, bleeding from between their legs as they are dragged to death. Glenn, spin it for us, baby. Go ahead. Put this fucking spit polish on this, you asshat.
In human history that I know of, somebody has said who they are and then proven it. Hitler, when he said, I'm going to kill all the Jews, it was in print, it was everywhere, but nobody wanted to believe him because it was too horrific. He even tried to cover it with a final solution and then cover it at the end. He didn't want to be known as that guy.
Yeah, well, it's a personal, and Glenn knows, if Glenn knows anything, Glenn knows what Hitler was feeling in the end, and the PR damage control that Hitler was concerned with doing before he shot his wife and himself and had them set him on fire.
So,
and then, of course, put his brain in a jar and ship it to Argentina, where a scientist could put it in the body of a tall blonde man.
We didn't know. This time we know. They say it is not about a second state. It is about killing the Jews.
Right. That's what Hamas wants. That's not what the vast majority of Palestinians want, nor do the ones in the West Bank, which is why he's paying them with the Iranian Royal Guard group.
Period. We know what they say. We know what they do. They put it on social media. They wanted the world to see it.
Yeah, kind of like Jan Sixers, who said, they're not really interested in democracy. We're not a democracy. We're not a democracy. They keep saying that over again. I think you're right. I think at some point we got to listen to them, especially the ones that stormed the fucking Capitol, took a shit, and flew the Confederate flag.
So this goes into not only who Hamas is, but who is Iran, who is Hezbollah, who is the RIGC, who is Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Who are the people that are in our own Congress, in our own schools, that are endorsing this or turning a blind eye? This is where the blessing comes in.
You mean like you in Ukraine? Eat shit. Like you've been shrugging off Bucha this entire fucking time? Same thing with Megyn Kelly. And suddenly, because it's Israel, anybody who, is trying to maintain a historical context in the middle of this horrific action is the same, is expressly evil and the same as Hitler and fucking Iran and all this shit, and then Black Lives Matter. Jesus fucking Christ. But you, by going, well, Russia was afraid of NATO expansion and not 1 inch, which was a bullshit story people told since the mid 90s. Never mind the 1997 founding agreement between NATO and Russia, which expressly gives every country the ability to choose their own security. And if they want to join NATO, they absolutely fucking can. And Russia was a signatory to that after the whole not 1 inch, and also after they'd already attacked Chechnya. But who gives a fuck, really?
This, I think, is one of your last chances to actually get off of that death train and step on to a platform of truth.
Yes, a truth train. Take the truth train and go, you know what? Hamas is evil, and they showed us who they are. So I think this gives us a red light, on any kind of two-state solution, and a green light to just stormtroop through the fucking place and kill every Palestinian in Gaza because, good Lord.
There is good and evil, and it is clear. I don't care.
Yeah, I agree. I've said that multiple times as somebody who this asshole would decry as being, a soft lefty or something like that. I've been saying that about Russia this entire time, and this asshole's been making excuses for them. Hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians. This motherfucker, but.
I don't care what was done to, let's say, us in World War II. If Americans would have been the ones that were tortured and killed the way they were in the death camps, I still wouldn't be for going in and shooting German families in their homes and killing their children. That would make us evil.
Right. But if a group of those people, let's say a bunch of Michigan militia guys felt like, fuck this, we're going after the Germans, we don't care who they are, we think they're and by the way, at that point, you're going to talk about who maggots and right-wingers would be, it would be a group like that who go, we're going to send some people over to Germany and fucking wipe these assholes out. And they would exist as a small group. You wouldn't blame, the rest of Americans for the actions of those particular people, but you also wouldn't be surprised if that particular group of people went and did something like that. And the response from the Germans towards those people would have to be, because they would all be in Michigan, let's say, a total war on the United States.
So no matter what's happened to you, it never excuses you killing families and children knowingly. It's not like dropping a bomb and all your guys happen to be hanging out by a school. Yep, that's unfortunate. I don't like that. Nobody wants that, but that is war. You went in intentionally to kill civilians, to rape women. And
yeah, just like the Wagner group, just like the Russian conscripts that came from fucking prison, and the death count and the assault count in Ukraine, it far outweighs the volume of people. And life for life, a life matters, but just by the sheer number of deaths and assaults and maimings that happened in Ukraine during the Russian assault, and that somehow
to kill babies. That is as evil as it gets. And
right. Hold that thought, fuckwad. We need to stop this, and we can't fund Russia anymore, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's go to, let's see if I can do this in give me 1 second. Let's see. Well, we'll just grab this one right here. Here's an example of something that good old Glenn just wrote off. Bucha murders. German report says Russian troops discussed killings. There they are. Bucha was seized by Russian troops soon after Vladimir Putin ordered an invasion of Ukraine on 24 February. After more than a month, the Russians eventually withdrew from Bucha, and the Ukrainian forces soon entered the town. The BND's intelligence was shared with German parliamentarians during a briefing on Wednesday. Der Spiegel reported on Thursday. In one intercepted radio message, the magazine said Russian soldiers appear to be talking about interrogating people and then shooting them. In another, a soldier talked about shooting someone on a bike, which appeared to match a notorious photo showing a dead cyclist in Bucha. According to Spiegel, the intercepts also appear to indicate mercenaries from Russia's private Wagner group played a key role in the Bucha killings. An unnamed security source told them it's true that the German federal government has indications of Russian perpetration in Bucha. However, these findings of Bucha refer to satellite images. Russia says its forces withdrew from Bucha on 30 March. Ukrainian said it was in the early hours of 31 March. On April 1, footage was posted, filmed from a car driving through the town, which showed bodies on either side of the street. Russia's claimed without providing evidence that the footage shows fake dead bodies and it was staged. After a satellite image from 19 March first reported, and by the way, they matched it to before the liberation of it. Those bodies were there the whole time. As the Russians held us as human shields. In the Ukraine war, clear evidence of Russian troops rounding up Ukrainian civilians and using them as human shields has been found by the BBC. In multiple interviews in Bucha, villagers said they were taken from their homes at gunpoint and held in a school by Russians trying to stop advancing Ukrainian forces. Local people also gave accounts of Russian troops shooting civilians and holding others captives in and around in Vankiv, the neighboring town. There we go. Yeah. Just there you go. But to Glenn, those folks, that's just the left wing trying to use American tax dollars to blah blah blah.
That evil is the same evil that says, "Hey, shout your abortion." It is the same evil that says whites are inferior and they need to be taught a lesson. What happened with Hamas?
No. Burning down a Target because you're mad about George Floyd is not the same as rolling up on a fucking music festival and slaughtering a bunch of unarmed people while they're dancing or hiding in an orange grove or the fucking concentration camps. Eat shit, you goofy clown.
Is exactly what will happen, and they are for it, as you saw out of Chicago. Exactly what will happen if these radical groups like BLM are in charge or allowed to fester and grow.
Okay, the idea also that BLM is full of anti-Semitic blacks. Also, by the way, same belief system from these idiots that somehow Jews control blacks to as an armed force or as a political manipulation force against low-income whites, which has also been a story for a long time.
They are a death cult. This is all about a death cult. It's interesting to me.
Here you see a man with sentences fighting to get their way through the murk and the mire that is in his fucking head.
That if somebody 200 years ago did something like this, which we all now say is horrible, we have to pay for it. But if somebody does something today to Jews, I guess it's okay. So first thing to remember is this can be a blessing to us because
this thumb's been in my butt.
Because we actually can see it. We hear them. We see them. We can recognize evil. Make sure.
Yes. Thanks, evil, for being unambiguously evil and open about how evil you are when you're eviling. And thanks for killing babies so that we don't have to have a complex conversation about history. We can just point at you and say bad people.
You're on the right side. The second thing that I think comes out of this is an understanding that at least a regional war, I believe this is going to turn into the global war.
The global war.
Is coming. So you not only have to know who your friends are, know what.
But you need giant tubs of pancake batter and frankenbeans.
Side you're on.
And now it's time. This is the time when you want to buy gold.
But you also have to now look at the border because we have what probably is in the thousands of enemies of America. You can't tell me that they're not sleeper cells in Judea and Samaria, and you can't tell me that there's not
There weren't sleeper cells in Judea and Samaria, you fucking anti-biblical dickhead, or they wouldn't have had to fly in. They'd have just raised up and got the guns out of their fucking closets, dipshit.
Sleeper cells here now in America.
There are, but it's mostly maggots.
If we get into a global war, the world and the world as we know it in America is going to change.
Gee, well, that didn't happen during World War II or World War I or the Revolutionary War or the Civil War or the War of 1812. Do things change inside a country when there's a world war going on or a war that directly affects you? I've never heard of that before. Also, does this motherfucker think, for one, that America will like stand down in the face of like minor lone wolf terrorist attacks carried out post 9/11 by people, or they're not listening for this kind of shit right now, or they're just intentionally dropping their guard so that BLM can show white people what for, especially the Jews?
So the best thing that you can do is know what side you're on. There's no neutral here. If you're neutral, you're going to end up on the wrong side.
Oh, good. Okay, we're clear. So we're picking for kickball now?
You have to look this in the eye.
Okay, where would that be? Is that... I'm just trying to get my eye line right. Is it over here? Is it over here?
You have to decide who you are today.
I'm Hal Sparks, a magnificent human being with almost endless talent who runs himself ragged a little too much, let's be completely honest, but I do it with love in my heart, and who has the ability to maintain a silly sense of humor in the face of some of the worst things that you could end up talking about on a show like this, and at the same time has a wonderful body of work as a fantastic actor. Well, if I do say so my goddamn self. Sorry, I didn't decide that's who I was. I'm just describing who I actually am instead of who do I decide I am? I'm Sparksman. Need some sort of logo on my chest, I suppose. I'll work on it.
Hey, then you have to...
I'm Hal Sparks, man about town.
Actively get involved by doing good.
Hey, I got that fucking covered, man. I'm explaining and knocking down bullshit and cheering people up every fucking day of the week. You lazy Sonic drinking bastard.
And being a voice of reason, not of chaos.
Yep, got that covered. So basically you're quitting right now? Is that what's happening?
And stand for the things that, honestly, if you just are a political person, just dedicate yourself to doing everything you can to make the people like Rashid Tlaib, make sure they're not elected again.
Well, you'd have to move into their district and run against them, I guess. I mean, perhaps, and this might seem like a crazy thought, perhaps stand a candidate that could win in that district that shows why your values and what you believe are actually better than what she's offering. I know, it's crazy. It's a weird thing.
Sure that you've done everything in your power.
Fuck you, you violent stoking dickhead.
To make sure that this...
By the way, for the record, everything in Glenn Beck's power is blathering into a microphone and sitting on his fat ass. That's it. That tops him out.
This philosophy is flushed down the toilet, as it should have been a long time ago. Make sure you're working for an election where...
Yes, be the toilet. That's right, Glenn. Thanks, man. Yeah, Americans, maggots especially, that's who he's talking to. He's talking to you. He wants you to be that toilet and the plunger. Plunge yourself. That's what they're asking.
Things will change because what you're seeing now is such an incompetent president. He has screwed this country up so many different ways. We're an unprepared military.
Why are we unprepared militarily? Based on what?
Gas prices. We go to war. Gas prices will easily be $10 a gallon.
Tough shit. We're again, if you're bitching about the cost of the goodness of the war that you're fighting, if we go to war, obviously we would be, I guess, going to war to protect Israel in this particular instance, is what he's talking about. And you're going to bitch about fucking gas prices during a Middle Eastern war that you are actually for? So at what point, this is a good question. Glenn, at what point what's your fuck Israel price on gasoline? $11? $12? $15? I mean, you're getting up into the area where that's how much it costs a liter in the UK. Not a gallon, but a liter. So what is it? What, $24? What's the number? You think Glenn Beck's got a number? I think he does. I think Glenn Beck's got a fuck Israel number on the gas when he's like, when it literally would be putting gas in his car going, fuck Israel. Like that's what he's arguing. Like there is point. Anybody who says that is, I'm for peace and I'm for protecting Israel and national security and all that kind of stuff, the mishmash of whatever those talking points are. They're for it up to the point of fucking the gas pump, goddammit.
There'll be shortages of things because he has screwed us in the end.
Well, what do you want him to do? Screw you in the front?
Moon River.
Of course you're going to get screwed in the end. What are you talking about? There were shortages of things all during COVID. Is that because Donald Trump screwed us in the end? I mean, nobody'd feel it.
But you look at this, we're a nation that is unprepared for war for the first time in my lifetime.
Fuck you. No, we're not. We were unprepared for another war while we were in Iraq and Afghanistan at the same fucking time. We are no longer in Afghanistan. We're not pissing that military hardware and those human lives down the fucking toilet in the process. Oi.
We are sitting back the way we were maybe right before World War I.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between now and fucking 1913. Fucking flappers. Everybody was just drinking fucking gin and women were wearing short skirts and doing this fucking shaky business and stuff. And then that's where they caught us. We were having too much fun.
That's not a good place to be.
Well, it beats, after World War I and during, the fucking Great Depression and obviously the World War II. And
moment on the BLM thing, because it really is telling. So BLM Chicago posts.
Okay, this is why they're fixating on this, because BLM Chicago, like some chapter of this. Also, by the way, can we make the distinction? Can we just stop for a fucking second? That I don't give a fuck what the organizations that call themselves Black Lives Matter do, because that has nothing to do with the fact that people use the hashtag Black Lives Matter to make the point that Black Lives Matter in a situation where it was a response as a phrase to the idea that somehow they don't seem to in certain circumstances. Honest to God. It's like these people, imagine, if you will, a situation where Megyn Kelly thinks that Republicans shouldn't use the color red anymore and that Christians shouldn't use crosses as examples because of something the Red Cross did.
They post a picture of a paraglider, which is, of course, in part how the Hamas terrorists got into Israel to kill.
Yeah, the Twitter account of some self-appointed organization that takes a hashtag and makes themselves the conveyor of the message. Yeah.
The innocents with a Palestinian flag, or what purports to be, flying from the top. And it reads, "I stand with Palestine" on the bottom. And BLM tweets out, "That is all. That is it." This is the group, Miranda Devine was pointing this out yesterday online, that companies like Disney, Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Walmart, Target, Lululemon, McDonald's, Wendy's.
No. The Chicago branch or chapter or whatever the fuck it is of BLM was not the primary one that got all this funding. No, it isn't.
Coca-Cola, Peloton, etc., lavished money on in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
This is the group that...
Because they were trying to show that they supported the idea that Black Lives Matter. And this group moved in and made themselves the official representatives of that hashtag, and for no fucking reason other than that they could.
Changed Fifth Avenue in New York to where we had to have a BLM moniker on it.
So what? They did that because Black Lives Matter, not because of an organization called Black Lives Matter. You moron.
That changed the courts on the NBA. This is the group that if you didn't post a little black square in solidarity with them on a...
No, it wasn't the group. It was the idea during a time when people were reacting to the George Floyd murder.
certain day, people started to accuse you of being a racist.
Yeah, but you didn't have to give money to an organization to do it. You just, that's the difference between a hashtag or a symbol, because you're trying to stand by the idea, not the group.
But there were many people who had questions about this group from the start.
Right. Like, why did there have to be a group? And most people didn't look at it as a group. Most of the marchers in the protests were saying Black Lives Matter, but didn't fucking work with Black Lives Matter.
Because as you point out, some people really do tell you who they are right from the get-go. And their mission statement was very
right from the get-go. Yes. Geico always tells you who.
Clear about what they wanted to do and dismantle the nuclear family and completely change America.
And they didn't. And the vast majority of the activity around Black Lives Matter was exactly the hashtag that you're talking about, which is people just being concerned that unarmed black men would be shot or killed in that particular instance, and were reacting to the George Floyd murder. They weren't like, oh my God, I'm going to go pick up a shovel and work for Black Lives Matter as a fucking organization.
And here they are at it again. I mean, openly, that is it. That is it! Exclamation. They are loving what's happening right now, Glenn. And many Jewish Americans supported this group.
What about when Glenn and Stu were talking about how NATO expansion drove Russia to do this? And Ukraine's run by Nazis. And that Zelensky, even though he's a Jew, is in charge of a Nazi country. What's the fucking difference? I'll tell you what the difference is. Black Lives Matter Chicago's Twitter account doesn't necessarily reflect anybody who believes in the concept that Black lives actually matter, which they do, and is an organization of people who maybe opportunistically moved in there to try to get funding for themselves, or maybe some of them meant well and some of them saw it as an opportunity to make money, and there's a mishmash of those people because humans are complex and full of shit, and there will always be people who will either be part of the solution or a fucking barnacle. The difference between those folks, though, and Glenn Beck, is that he has a fucking mic with his name, with his initials on it.
Back in 2020, and now when they need support, it's a celebration of their murder.
So I would, again, use this as a way.
And by the way, because Jews in Israel supported the idea, the concept, the hashtag, the premise that Black lives do matter, that somehow they're creating their own kind of mini Hamas out of this.
To wake people up, if you were for BLM.
Okay. And again, the organization of the idea. For the idea, I don't give a fuck about the organization. Eat shit.
You know, I'm sorry you didn't believe that it was for, maybe a month or so when they first started on their own website, the end of the nuclear family.
Right. Nobody cared. Corporations were looking for a place to park these things, but the vast majority of people weren't giving to BLM. They were just supporting it. They were marching. They were wearing shirts that said it. They weren't buying shirts from this fucking organization. Good Lord.
The end of capitalism as we know it, the end of the Western way of life. This is what is
right, which ultimately led to the collapse of the organization. Let's be abundantly clear. The idea that Black Lives Matter, it's still around. But the organization itself sank under the weight of its own misguided ideas that had nothing to fucking do with the actual initial cause of that the hashtag and the ideology started around. Lord almighty.
Is happening with the Palestinians and Hamas to the Israelis. That is what BLM's world looks like.
No, it isn't. Fuckwad, listen, Hamas doesn't believe in gay rights. Here's a good example. Or women's rights individually. BLM, the main organization, is run by 3 lesbians. The idea that they wanted to get rid of the nuclear family or the focus on the nuclear family had a lot to do with their belief about their own sexual orientation and their expression of that in the world. It's a very distinct difference around ideology. Even at their worst, BLM couldn't cook up a bigoted society on the level that Hamas wants. Even if they hated fucking white people, it wouldn't fucking matter. They still weren't calling for blood in the streets.
When they say they want an end to the nuclear family, I thought that was evil. I just didn't realize that they meant any kind of end, even shooting them in their sleep.
They didn't.
Or beheading their babies. This has got to be understood. And, you know, Megyn, I'd be interested in hearing your point of view on this.
Because I'm running out of stupid shit to say.
Because there's a big
load in your diaper.
There's an argument that's happening even inside of my own building here with my producers. Tonight, I have Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin on.
How did you manage to get them? Wow. Oh, right. Jews and one of them's gay. Okay.
On my Wednesday night special.
Which is not that special. It happens every Wednesday night.
And we're going to show the videos that everybody, including Israel, says don't show.
Right. Why? Because you're going to have a violent whack fest?
I think those videos are so important. It is like having pictures of the gas chambers in 1940 and not showing them. I think...
No, it isn't. Because we're aware of what happened. There's already a reaction. People, they're online. You can go look at them. You don't have to rebroadcast them. You're not breaking fucking news. And anybody who watches Glenn's channel has already seen this shit or aren't going to be changed in how they feel by watching that shit. He's doing it because of the prurient interest in half of his audience wanting to see Jews slaughtered.
They need to be seen because
half your audience will be disgusted and buy prepper food and the other half will fucking mentally whack off to the idea.
This is the evidence that shows you, look, they said they will kill all Jews. They've said that. Now here they are. And there is no way to defend killing women and children.
Right. And there's very little defense in showing the deaths of them for clickbait and to draw attention to them when everyone is aware of what's actually happening. Like, honest to God, no one needs to see that just to get remotivated towards this. And even the people that, if he's thinking that like fucking Ilhan Omar and people like that need to see it so they'll change their mind, or BLM, they're not watching the fucking Glenn Beck show. And they're not like, oh, I never watched Glenn Beck. Dave Rubin's on.
Execution style on social media. Everybody says that shouldn't be seen in.
Also, execution style is a stupid fucking word unless you're a police officer describing a crime scene later. It's not a style. It's a technique.
Including Israel. I disagree. We have photos now of the death chamber. Why wouldn't we show them?
Yeah.
Because people already know about them and it's disgusting.
It's a tough call. I mean, I agree with, in general, with the showing of the videos right now.
Do ya? Well, then why don't you beat him to the punch? He's got to wait till Wednesday to do it. And Ben Shapiro's going to sign off on it. So Ben's just going to sit there while Glenn Beck plays videos of Jews being slaughtered for Ben Shapiro. That's the show. You know what? I take it back. You can call that a special. That's Glenn. That's special.
Chosen to carve like a middle lane on it and show some, but not all.
Not Glenn. Oh no. Why waste the outrage? Just
because, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I just feel like there's only so much my heart can take in even bringing the show, you know?
Yeah, but Glenn, you know, his doesn't even know what's going on. It's got so many fat deposits on it from all the Sonic eats.
Never mind my audience.
I know.
There's just only so much. I don't know about you, Glenn, but like this has been weighing on me so heavily. it's really changing my personality these past few days. You got to be able to function in your own life. You got to be able to get your kids off to school. You got to be able to be a loving, kind mother. And there's only
Yeah, Glenn, try and be a loving, kind mother, will you?
so much I can take. And that's me. I don't mean to make me the story. I'm just saying, like, me.
Yeah, you do. You both do. And I think we can end on that because we don't. The rest of this is an ad for gold. Both of these people are trying to make themselves the story. Glenn, with his have it both ways idea that we're gonna have a world war and it's terrible and everybody and Black Lives Matter is to blame for Jews being slaughtered by Hamas. And blah de blah. And if we don't get drawn into a war, it'll be a miracle. And if it is a miracle, I told you a miracle was coming. And if it doesn't happen, I'll blame America for being so evil and under Joe Biden that we don't even deserve a fucking miracle. And then this idiot going, I can't watch it because it's just too much. I've got things to do. And you try to do things and it's a lot. These two assholes just had a discussion for the last couple minutes about how they feel about showing clips of people being slaughtered, assaulted, shot, beheaded, mutilated on their shows. Just like a mild discussion about the upside and downside of those, with a total wanton disregard for the fucking people who experienced it. Glenn doesn't give a rat's ass. Ugh. Anyways, fuck them.